Welcome to the Tarin It Up podcast. I'm your host, Tarin. We'll be tearing it up, tearing it down, and tearing it apart, dissecting all things related to those who deviate from the standard. From leaders of their industry to leaders of mediocrity, and maybe a gear review or two thrown in. We shoot the shit and let the conversations flow, so if that's not your style, this may not be for you. Otherwise, listen in. Hope to light a fire in you somehow. Woo! Happy October, everybody! I feel like this is exciting because we ended the month with a TNA episode, and now we're starting a new month with it. So I'm like, it's perfect. Even though, yeah, you guys just heard
our listeners.
I know, seriously. Like, yeah, you guys just heard from the stream team, but you're going to hear from us again because I also feel like, you know, we did stay pretty much on one kind of topic last time, which is surprising for us, honestly. We talked a lot about like ego in sports and things like, and in life and whatnot. And I feel like I was also a little bit out of it still, of just like there was things I wanted to talk about, but we were on one subject, so that was nice to just not change a million different tracks. But I'm like, oh man, we didn't like touch on this or touch on that, and I don't know that we will hit them all today by any means or anything, but like we didn't, like our catch up, you know, was just pretty like, nah, yep, been doing the same thing, just like a little bit unexcited with life is how I felt I came off. And I feel like I want to change that and be excited about life because I am. But
okay. Also, life isn't always exciting. Sometimes it is ho-hum and humdrum and slow, especially with this change in season, you know?
100%. And like, I was just, out of it because I was a little bit under the weather while in Washington. So I am back in Tahoe now. I got back yesterday. And yeah, so I just felt my energy levels were super, super duper low, and yeah, I don't know, just hit a wall. But I was also just listening to another podcast too, and they were talking about like anxiety and stuff and things, and just how life has these highs and these lows. And when you're in the low, obviously we've talked about this too, it's so hard to remember that you'll come out on the other side eventually. And
yes,
and that it's the low is not who you are. Like in the lows, we often are facing things like imposter syndrome, or, you know, I don't deserve this, I don't deserve that. Am I doing the right thing? You know, just questioning a lot of life. Like, is this the right move for me? Should I just be doing something else? And like that, it's hard when you're in those moments to like see the truth, because it feels like in those lows it is not the truth.
Yes,
but and I mean, that could be one day, that could be a week, it could be a month, it could be a really long term in your life. But I don't think I was necessarily there last week or anything, but because my energy levels were so low, I just had like no forethought. I was just like going through the motions for a week. And again, that was, I think, a mix of things, like being a bit under the weather, having had this wedding of one of my best friends where I used up a lot of my social energy during that event. And before getting to Washington, I had a couple things happen, some like emotional downfalls. So I feel like it was all of that kind of compounding that I, like I said, hit that wall of just being totally burnt out, had zero energy while I was there. But also when we were recording, I said, like, I'm hermiting out this time. I'm just kind of hiding out. I'm not going to see many people. I had already had that set in my mind, but it's like my body and everything caught up. Like, okay, well, we'll make sure you do that by kind of knocking you on your ass a little.
But also, you spent a lot of time with your niece and nephews, and that takes a lot out of you too, chasing around 5, 3, and a 1-year-old.
Yeah, and just being around that stimulation, you know, all the time. I know that even my sister-in-law, and I'm sure every mother, parent, and my brother too, you know, deal with it. If there's like, there's constant stimulation. And when the oldest is 5 now, and then they have just over a 1-year-old, but it's like, it's not necessarily something you get used to, if you're
A
a
break.
person who really needed your space. It's like you can go through the motions and things like that, but some people are just that, like higher energy people, and can handle the overstimulation. It's not overstimulation to them. Some people, like I said, it is, and like, even as a parent, it's you can be overstimulated constantly, and I think that's something people don't
Uh-huh.
talk about. It's like, well, you're a parent, it's what you asked for, like you just have to deal with it. It's like, I hate that narrative. And sometimes,
Yeah.
honestly,
Dismissive.
yeah, and sometimes I do feel like my parents have that attitude, and because it's that generation, right, of like, well, this is what you signed up for, and
Yep.
I it
I
drives
did
me
it. You
nuts.
got to do it.
Yeah, and I'm not even the parent or anything, and I know that, they love and support my brother and sister-in-law and all that, and like I said, I think it's a generational thing, but even so, I have to find, like, remind myself of that too, because I can have that same kind of judgment, like for anything, not just parents, right? You chose to do something, like, well, you signed up for it. So, like, buck up, buttercup. But there's some
Yeah.
times where it's like, yeah, you signed up for it, but like, it's still okay to
What's your
talk about,
capacity?
yeah, and it's still okay to talk about
Yeah.
your frustrations, and, you don't have to just like shut up and not say anything about it, or complain or vent or something. It's like, there's a limit, right? You don't want to always be complaining and be in the negative space all the time, but you still got to be able to like talk about what you're going through at the moments. And yeah, you said it,
Yes.
dismissive, like people being dismissive of feelings and whatnot. And it's hard to find your person. We've also talked a lot about, you know, checking in with your friends, about what their capacity level is kind of before you dump on them. And I definitely
Yes.
I have not been good at that. And I think that takes a long time to
Practice.
do. Yeah, yeah, to get used to like
Hmm.
kind of saying it. And I feel like recently Andrew and I kind of, gotten a little bit of a tiff, and a lot of stuff came up and emotional things. And one of those, it just kind of reminds me of this conversation about, just we use our partners a lot to dump our shit on them, our partners and our like really good friends. And
Oh, dude, they are our closets that we throw all of our shit into.
yeah, and it's
You know
so
what I
bad.
mean?
Yeah. But it's hard to remind yourself to check in with them too, and or check in with yourself when
Hmm.
you realize, like, okay, I'm just going on a negative rant here. How many negative things have I said to my partner today, complaining about life? And instead of like, let's talk about something good going on in our lives. But again, that's what our
Yeah,
best friends and partners are. They're our most supportive people. They're the people we feel most comfortable with saying those things to. But god
100.
damn, I really want to work on like really sharing more of the wins, and not just
Yeah.
complaining, but like we
Well,
got to get
you
those feelings
acknowledging
out.
it. Yes, you have to, but also acknowledging it is the first step, right? And then trying to put it into practice after that. So I
Yeah.
think you're on the right step, and I don't feel like I've ever really experienced that with you. So you and I are good on that front.
Well, I think that it's all, it can be just relationship based. You have one person you kind of dump more on, and that's the thing too, of like spreading out the love, like not just using that one person to only say the negative stuff too. But like, I've got friends, all we do is talk shit, and it's like we do that, but we also are really good about, I don't know, talking about being a little more in the moments of things and doing things and enjoying times. I don't know. It's just you're it's crazy how individual every one of your relationships truly
Yes.
is.
Yes. Absolutely. And I mean, it's good. Honestly, it's good to have that one person that you're like, okay, we're gonna dump together, and that's gonna be our time. And sometimes you just like sync up, and needing that person needs it too, So the universe, man, and everybody's like internal clocks and internal struggles. Like you just never fucking know.
I feel like this is going to sound a little bit silly, especially for any people who are more like type B. I don't necessarily think I don't know if I'm more type A or B or whatnot, but it's helped me a lot scheduling a lot of things into my life just to stay on track, because I have felt 100% way more like on the ADHD spectrum and not staying focused. So scheduling things and setting alarms and stuff has
Mm-hmm.
helped me stay on track. Then I'm like, dude, I like honestly schedule a fucking dump session with whoever your person is, your girlfriend's, like set an alarm. Like
Yeah.
I got 30 minutes
Oh, I
to
love that.
just like, or we have 30 minutes, whatever, but I honestly like 15 minutes each or something, like here, get it all out. But then that's it. You hit your time limit, that's it. You got something else negative to say, too bad. Like let's get
Yes.
everything off. And then at this 30-minute, 15 for each time limit, we are only going to talk about positive things, because it, like I said, you need to
Purge
get this.
Project.
Yeah, I love it, the PP.
Yeah. Purge Project, turn positive, playing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Totally. um but honestly, yeah, I think that something like that would help. Or even, if you just find yourself in a moment, I'm not necessarily putting it on your calendar, hey, 30-minute negative talk, but like
Yes.
you are, and again, this takes a lot of practice, right? Because you have to recognize it in the moment. But when you are with that person talking about getting all this stuff out, like realizing, like, okay, wait, yeah, how long have we been talking? Like, let's actively change our tune. Um, because it's just that's the easiest stuff I feel like to talk about and connect on, really, is the shitty stuff.
Yes.
But
Yes.
I'm really trying to get into this manifesting mode, so I
Bitch,
gotta
yes.
have more positivity coming into my life and thoughts, and I ultimately have to be the person to do that, and not also be like, oh, so and so negative, blah blah blah. Like, I'm an active participant in the conversation. I can remove myself from it, or can say, hey, I'm totally here for you, I want to listen to you, but let's, like, I don't want you to be down and negative either, so get everything out you need to, but then let's both together try and make this mind shift happen.
Yes. Yes. And I think with the purging of the negativity, it helps you
Yeah.
process what
Hmm.
you're feeling and what you're going through, and then you can move on once you get that out of your system. Also, I feel like it's good to have different friends to bitch to about different things, because like you have like your work life
Hmm.
and there's things to bitch about there. Like we all have things to bitch about our work life. And then you have your personal life and there's always things to bitch about there. And then you also have like your friendship life, and not all friendships are perfect. So there's things to bitch about there, and you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
every relationship and situation is just so unique and specialized, and you gotta bitch, man, because it's not always positive. And um speaking of listening to podcasts, I was listening to a podcast before this about have how to deal with like toxic people, and one of the things that they said on this podcast was that toxicity is on a spectrum. And I don't know if we talked about that on the last episode, like things being on a spectrum. Did we? Was that you and I talking about that? We were talking about something on a spectrum, right? Like, anyways,
we
we are
have
all,
before, I know for
yes,
sure, so
yes, like just being on a spectrum. Like we are all a part of a spectrum, and
yeah,
toxicity and negativity is also part of a spectrum. You know what I mean? So it's like understanding the spectrum, where it's at, and just doing the balance the best you can. It's a little
absolutely,
tango.
it is. And I think that, again, kind of just what I mentioned, but and I don't want to put the I'm not trying to put like the onus on you yourself all the time, but because there is a certain amount of accountability. Like if you think there's too much negativity in your life, or if you think this person is like super super negative, I don't know, like say something, because
Yes.
again, they might be going through something, because I've gone through like times in friendships. I've This has happened with my brother and sister-in-law. Like we went through the biggest fight I've ever gotten in with him, and like a terrible time period where we barely spoke for like a year. And a lot of it had to do, like, we were kind of saying things to each other, like, you're like so negative, this, that, and the other. And it's like, well, you've been saving that almost to throw it in someone's face. Like, you in the moment can say, like, okay, like, enough, like, I don't want to hear about this kind of thing, because it just brings into perspective like what that person, there are definitely some toxically, like, 100 negative people, like, they can never find the good in something. But
Yes.
like, so we have to take our own accountability of how much we can accept into our life. And yeah, you'll be able to tell when there's a person who just is that way, and you're like, okay, I need them out of my life for whatever, how, a time period or whatever it is. But yeah, I'm trying to, and this is something that, again, I mentioned last week, but just take a lot more accountability for my part in relationships. And again, by no means does this mean that I am trying to take blame in anything, but I know that a lot of us do blame the other person, and we don't, like, look at our own
Mm-hmm.
faults or contributions to whatever bad thing. And I'm definitely like, okay, what was my role in this or that? At
Mm-hmm.
least have a look at it first, so you can really see, like, what did I do, kind of like, what can I change, rather, or anything. But like I said, that's not to every situation by any means. There are times when it is just someone else who is being an asshole, for
Yes.
sure. I'm not
Yeah.
doing this to every single situation, but there are just times and reflections that I'm like, in that situation, could I have done anything differently to, have changed that outcome or whatnot? And even, like, a lot of times it could be absolutely no, like, that was fine
Yeah.
and that's great. But I
Yep.
think, again, just the realization of, like, did I, before I, jump down someone else's throat or play the blame game, like, what could they throw back at me, that, like, they're feeling the same way. Oh, I'm back.
I'm back.
Yeah, my faulty internet, but
Also, with all that said, like,
mhm,
it's not always your responsibility to fix someone else's negativity. And also,
mhm,
when people are in negative headspaces, it's hard to see outside of what's going on and acknowledge all the things like your fault. What could I have, you know what I mean? So
mhm.
sometimes you just got to go through the actions and take action afterwards, if that makes sense. I don't know if I
Yeah,
worded that right, but yeah.
I think I know what you mean. Of, like,
Yes.
there's times you can't just stop someone in the middle of it
Yeah.
and just
No,
say,
never.
hey, like, that's where it's like, setting the alarm when you're both, like, kind of going off on something. And again, you can feel it
Spiraling.
out. You can read the situation and know what you're in. Um, and decide whether you need to have a conversation after, or if you can pause during it. I don't know if these exist still. They did when we were in Alaska. A lot of people had them on their boats, but they were like boosters basically for cell phone service. And, people have like hotspot things. But again, since everyone's phone does it now, I don't know if there's something that exists. But if anyone knows, I think I need some kind of Wi-Fi booster for this shit, because Starlink does not work consistently. Like, I always have these freaking pauses, and then my hotspot, same thing, and it's constantly trying to switch, like, back and forth. And so I've just decided I think I need some kind of aid for these recordings. So if there's a tech person out there that knows if something like that still exists, then I'll do some research. But
Holler.
yeah, let me know. But anyways, yeah, I don't know really what started me on all of that. Oh, just the energy from the lack of it I had
Mhm.
in Washington. And yeah, just all of it is energy. Everything's an energy exchange. Money is an energy
Mhm.
exchange, they say.
Mhm.
And I'm trying to have good thoughts around that. I'm always trying. That's a never ending battle of having good, positive thoughts towards money and welcoming it I mean, I feel like I'm always welcoming
Yes.
it. So, but
Yes.
yeah, I know you did this for a while. I think back when, I don't know if it was after you, like the split with you and Murray, or if it was beforehand and you were just like going through all this stuff and emotions, but you were doing a like daily gratitude practice and you were trying to do it with
Yes.
Quincy and the family, right? Of saying a couple things you were like grateful for, or do you
Mhm.
remember what exactly you were doing at that time?
Yeah, I was just trying to look for anything positive.
Yeah, totally.
The shit was really shitty and scary and uncertain and just like in a pit, like a spiral pit. I was just like, will this ever get better? Will it ever? And so, especially with uprooting your life financially, the financial aspect of it, and trying to like think positively when you're like, I don't know how I can afford rent, period, or
Mhm.
like what my life will look like. Just a lot of scary uncertainties. So just trying to be grateful for the littlest things, like our health. You know what I mean? Like, even though you were low energy and like slightly sick last week, like all of your limbs are working and intact, and just like being grateful for the slightest things that we constantly take for, I don't want to say granted, but just like as face value, as like this is just how it's supposed to be. But no, like when I get the slightest little hangnail on my finger, it's such an inconvenience, and my like hand doesn't work properly. You know what I mean? So just
Yeah.
like being grateful that I'm intact, that I have health, that I have a roof over my head, that I have clothes to put on my back, like just the slight, like that my digestive system is working like just being grateful for the littlest common everyday day-to-day things.
Were
And
you, sorry, were you
you go.
writing things down or were you just like saying them, thinking them? What did your practice on this look like? Just randomly throughout the day that you would kind of be in a slump that you like, wait a second and pull yourself out of it? Or, yeah, how did that
It
look for
was
you?
it was more so saying it and thinking it, and I'm glad that you brought this up because in the podcast I was listening to before this, they were talking about having routines at night to help you get better sleep.
Oh,
And one of the routines that this person talked about was writing in your journal before going to bed, and how it just like helps you, like once you constantly do it, it just helps you get back into that cycle of like going to sleep. And he said that what he would do is write in his journal and write three things. He was like, if you're not a journal,
er,
journal,
writer.
writer. If you don't journal, then just simply write three things that you're grateful for. And that's your practice. You know what I mean? So I was actually thinking about how I was going to get back into that because I got a really cool new leather journal from my work for Admin Appreciation Day, which was like back in spring, and I still haven't used it. So I'm like, maybe I'll just use that journal to start writing things that I'm grateful for at the end of the night, in addition to continually brushing my teeth because
Yeah.
my dentist told me I have periodontal disease. And, just routines help, especially for people who are type B, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Slash ADD slash whatever. I,
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to acknowledge and accept that it is actually ADD because it is so overly diagnosed, and understand that it is also part of our environment and the way we grew up and how we're being advertised to, and all the screens and things and the constant distractions in day-to-day life. But yeah, routines,
Yeah.
routines. But
I
yeah,
mean, it's, well, they're just hard to stick to when you don't have the same routine daily anyways. And a lot
yes,
of, I think a lot of our listeners honestly don't, because obviously if there's surveys and stuff you can put on Spotify and whatnot. And so basically when I say this, I am, it's a very large guess about
yeah,
our main listener, knowing that our main listeners like in the age range that we are, like 28 to 42 or something like that, and females. we talk about the outdoor industry a lot. There's a lot of mothers out there. My guess from what I know of our audience is that we have a lot of moving parts in our lives. If you're in the outdoor industry, food service industry, have children, your day doesn't look the same every day. Like there might be, bedtimes and school drop-offs and certain days that you're with your kid and those things, but even with those certain structures, there's still a lot of change throughout the day. And because of those, we definitely allow ourselves, we don't want to be on a strict routine. You don't want hour by hour, minute by minute kind of thing.
Yeah.
There's people out there that exist that do that, but that is not us. And I don't believe that's our core audience. And I think that it can be very hard to stick to a routine. I constantly say how hard it is for me to stick to a routine. Simply I try to be as flexible as possible with it. Like, okay, I don't have to go to the gym every day at 8 a.m., but if I can get some kind of movement in every day, can we just shoot for that? Really lower the entry, the cost of entry. And I do that as much as I can, but it's still, some things are still hard. But it starts slow. So with the writing, the gratitude, it's something I haven't been able to stick to. I have this little gratitude book that it gives, journal that has given me different prompts. But I also have tons of notebooks and journals. I just bought a new one too when I was in Tacoma. And for me, it's a wide goal right now of just to write more and to be a little more, and to kind of write out the things that I want. Because in the past, what I've used journaling for is literally a recap of my life, like a fucking diary of this happened, that happened, for many reasons of I do want to write a book someday. I have no idea what it will be about, if it will be real or not. And I just want to remember that. I just want to have something that I can look back and be like, oh my God, I remember that happening, this one journal I have, because I stopped journaling for so long, literally goes back to 2015 when I got it. So I'm like, there's 10 years of shit in this book I'm still writing in. But again, that's just kind of been a recap thing. And so in this new journal I bought, I really want to use it to think more forward rather than in the past. And this is what happened, this is how I'm feeling, but this is what I want, this is what I see, this is the future I want to build. Because those things change. We talk about that all the time too. Your dreams don't look the same day to day, week to week, month to month. The things you want can change, but while you're working towards them, just reminding yourself, because I do feel like I'm a person who I love notes and to-do lists, and that's probably has something to do, if I really think about it, with traits of things like ADD or something being around for a lot longer than I ever knew or thought. But I need those things to pull me back in, and to the point of, if I have a goal of wanting to work out more, be stronger, make better nutritional choices, today I was like, I might have to start putting a Post-it note in the fridge that just says why. And this doesn't have to do with anything of trying to be on a strict diet by any means, but I eat when I'm bored. I eat when if you need an energy boost, that's an internal thing. Your body feels like it's craving sugar or something to stay awake. You've got more things to do. But I just think that simple thing, again, it's not trying to deter me from eating, but to say oh yeah, wait a second, why am I reaching for a snack again? Am I truly hungry? Or what am I reaching for? Let's have something that will be satiating. It won't make me just crash, and just to help me make better choices, and just little reminders too, when today was super hard to wake up in the morning because I had 3 hours of sleep yesterday. And when your alarm goes off and you want to just hit snooze, all the excuses, well, I don't really have to work out today, or I can work out later, or whatever it is. Having something I could see of just reminding me what my goal is. I want to be at this point. I want this to happen. So in order to do that, I have to do this. I just need to leave myself little fucking notes and stuff. And so I might try doing that, because I have these Post-its.
I love it.
I don't use them a lot, but I do think I need to start leaving myself little things around the house just to remind myself. I try to use my phone reminders, but like if they pop up during a moment that you're busy, you just forget about it. My reminders
Yep.
stay on like undone for fucking weeks at a time. But I also did, so where I'm getting with this is some affirmations, because I've realized, and everyone says it who's really like woo woo and into manifesting, but like how specific you actually need to be in asking the universe for what you want.
Yes.
So I wrote out a little like daily kind of affirmation manifestation thing and put it on my phone to come up as a reminder 3 times a day so that I can just say it. And I know that I should probably stop what I'm doing, put a little more energy and things into it, but still, I just want to see that, and I want to repeat this thing day after day, multiple times a day. And I just hear so many stories of people like using manifestation and things that I've always been like skeptical about it and just kind of talk shit, because I'm like, okay, yeah, that lovely, so lovely that happened to you, but it's like,
Yeah.
I think it was really after a conversation with Mallory of how she talked about like the vision
The
for,
space.
yeah,
Yes, that was magical.
the whatever, what the heck was it called? Um, a specific kind of type of building,
Yeah.
and I I was just like, man, I have so many visions, like specific visions in my head, but I don't really specifically kind of ask for them. Or something happened recently that was like, oh, I want this or whatever. And it happened. I made a story about it. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I just remember my story being like, okay, like touche, basically, universe. I guess I wasn't clear enough in what I meant when I
Yeah.
said that, because you gave me this, but like largely unusable because of the circumstances surrounding it. So I was like, God, this truly is like, okay, you really have to fucking get specific. And I think
Hmm.
maybe it's the fact that I I've had visions of like, the she shed I want here on our property or something, but I haven't had a clear path to get there. I've just thought maybe too much into it. Like, no, it doesn't, I don't have to. That's the point of it. Is I don't have to have the clear path to get there, but if I have the clear vision of what it is,
Yes.
I will find that path
The
to
in
get
between
there.
spaces will figure themselves out.
Yeah, and I think I've probably put too much thought into that in between of like, well, how? Like, I can't even think about that because I don't have this figured out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whatever. But like I said, getting very specific in it. I set this reminder, trying to, if one goes off at noon, and I'm like, yeah, well, if I'm busy doing something at noon, that's okay. It will still show up on my phone's lock screen when I have a second to stop what I'm doing and say it through in my mind. And
Hmm.
I'm just
And
trying to
envision
be
it
woo
fully.
woo.
I love it. I love all these reminders. I was reading a book a while back, which I never finished it, which is a sign of ADD, called Ask and It Is Given, and it's about manifesting, which I highly suggest you read or listen to, however you listen to your
Ooh.
things.
Hmm.
And then I also sent you something on Instagram that somebody sent me this morning that was about how October 2nd and 3rd is this new moon eclipse, and you're not supposed to manifest anything at this time.
Oh, okay. So maybe I should turn my reminders off for those 2 days.
Yes. Yes. And like watch the clip, let it resonate with you and go from there. You know what I mean? Like this person is of this clip is a planetary person, so they know about all these things.
Like
And like I don't
astrologists.
know. Yes, exactly. That's the word
Okay.
for them. And but yeah, it was just saying that you're not supposed to manifest right now because of what's going on with this eclipse and the planets, man, which I believe in all that woo-woo stuff. Like the universe does hand us stuff, and if you're a lot of times it is hard to be aware or conscientious, but if you're not, then it could fall in the onto you the wrong way. So Just
Yeah.
good stuff to be aware about and of.
It's I guess it's just always been hard for some reason for me. Again, I don't know if it's the routine thing of like, okay, I'm not sitting down every night and writing or saying I'm grateful for
Yeah.
this or that or whatnot. But then I look at
Who does?
people, yeah, well, because I know a couple people and that just seem to be just a ray of light all the time,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, I love you so much and I need you in my life. And I also just wish that that was my inherent like outlook on life, and it's not, but I think that's okay. But
Yes,
that's why I
it
do
is.
have to work extra hard to pull out the fucking positivity. I just fucking do.
Yes.
And
And
I
that's
don't want to
okay.
be like this like bubbly like person who seems like I'm, crazy or something and just not living in reality. But I but also why not? Why not be that person?
Yeah. Why not? And I mean, there is like toxic positivity, right?
Yes.
And there's also assumptions of like these light, happy go people that you always see. We assume that like life is easy and great and hunky dory, but you just really don't know each individual person's struggles. And I feel often like I am that light, bubbly person. Like whenever I see people out in public, it's always like, oh, so great to see you. And I'm like so happy and like all this stuff. But like, that's me being out in the world and being stoked to see people. Me at home is a
Mm-hmm.
totally different person. Like I'm not always like, "Oh, I'm so happy to be like vacuuming or like doing the
Yeah.
laundry or like cooking this dinner," which a lot of the time, like sometimes I fucking am, especially when my house or things like really need it. But like
Mm-hmm.
especially when I was not happy, when I
Mm-hmm.
was in a place at like a depressive state or just like in a situation in a home that wasn't ideal for me, I wasn't that person that people would see out in public that was like so happy and a ray of sunshine. Like you just don't, and especially with the facade that social media gives, like we're always sharing the highlight reels, the positives, but like we all struggle with emotions, with the day to day. We all struggle with routine. Like we are all struggling with something at some point, and it may not be a constant struggle, but there are struggles there. It's just hard to see when you see one side of somebody.
Right. And that's what I was going to say too, is like with those people who seem like they're always just so positive and a ray of sunshine and bubbly, like you don't know first how much work it took them to get there, or how much work it's taking them to put that out
Keep that
there,
face.
because it could just be what they are trying to represent to the world when inside there's a lot of turmoil or things going on at home, and the best way for them to kind of hide that is to like put on this front or to hide it themselves, like they don't want to face it, like they're actually burying some stuff deep inside them and forcing this out just to not think about the things that are not good. So there's so many in there, people who are just like that all the fucking time. But again, were they born that way? Did it take work to get there? So many different things. And I'm just happy to have the people in my life who do put that out there all the time or most of the time,
Mhm.
because being around them like does help me, kind of see that the positivity, and remind me too of like, you just put me in a good mood. So it's just so nice
Yeah.
of them to do that.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. It
To
is
just put that
great. It
energy
is
into
so
the
lovely.
world. Yeah.
Yes, especially because there is so much negativity. There is so much toxicity. There is so much of a struggle that it is so great to have the people that are like, "Yay, life is great."
Yeah.
Because a lot of times it's not.
Absolutely. I mean, there's so
But it is
much.
nice to be around those people. It is very lovely.
The world is literally a dumpster fire right now, and for this foreseeable future. I mean, so you have to do what you can to protect your peace, like inside and around you, for the things that you can control, because there's so much out of our control. And you can't control your emotions day to day per se. Like you can I mean, you can control them to an extent, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. But we all go through the days and it's like, oh, nope, just a shitty day. But man, I am going to force out the visions that I have and the things that I want, even on the days that I might feel like wake up feeling, imposter syndrome, or like, this is never going to happen. Why would this
Yes.
happen for me? Like, nope, it is. And hope that that can help me get out of the funk or the disbelief in myself that I have at that moment.
Fuck yeah. And with that said, how are things looking with your goal to get to the outdoor summit?
I'm glad you brought that up, because on our last podcast, I shared it again, and I think I shared it on LinkedIn or something. And I had this conversation actually with Hillary the other day, because I was feeling like, okay, I reached this huge check mark in the goal. So I feel like kind of bad asking for more, but I really do need that $450 more to cover the travel. But now, and like, or asking them about, there was an offer of like covering them, the people of the summit, like covering the ticket cost. But with the Hurricane Helene, I feel
Yeah.
like I cannot be asking people for donations for something like that when I am going. I have the ticket and I have the lodging, and I mean, I have to go. Like, I will find a way, I will make it happen. And it might be super fucking stressful because I'll use every dime I have to get there and to get back. And it, put me in a situation that I shouldn't put myself in, as far as like bills and responsibilities, like going into the new month and stuff. But I just have it in my mind. It's like, I'm gonna fucking figure it out. It's fine. I'm working 4 days this week. I'm taking like anything I can get, basically, not turning down any chance I have to make money, so I don't have to
Yeah.
ask people, and am not in a, like, not really putting myself in a terrible situation for missing work and spending money to go do this, because I'm doing this to make money. The goal of being here is to make connections and monetize this podcast. So I have to remember that too. I'm like, well, I'm doing this because money is going to come back to me. I am spending the money and the time to do this because I will get a return on this. And,
Yes.
there's just no other option and way to think. But I do not want to sound like that tone deaf person who's out there asking someone for $50, $100, when the East Coast here has been thrashed and people's lives are literally turned upside down. So I want anybody who can donate funds, and they're seeing these posts or have can feel like they can donate something, that they're going to donate to someone who actually fucking needs it. Because I appreciate everyone so much for getting me to where I got, and
Woo!
getting me to the summit. Because that's just where it lies. It's like, I am going, and it would take a lot more load and stress off me to get that last $450. But like I said, no matter what, I am going. I'll figure the rest out, because there's just no other option now. And I'm not going to go and be, stressed about it, and stressed about how much money I'm spending to get there and not working for a week. I'm going to be so happy I'm there, and happy for the opportunity, and excited that this is going to put me in the position to make more money, and yeah, just make some
Yes,
great
bitch.
connections. So
Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. Love that positivity. Look at you. You're already putting it
I
into practice.
have to. There's just no other choice. Like, I mean, like I said, like,
Yes.
I don't want to be stressed and worried anymore. I don't want to think about like the what ifs. And Heather Kelly and I talked about this when she was on a few weeks ago, of like the what ifs, especially coming to business, a lot of times are bad. What if I spend all
Yes.
this fucking money and nothing happens, and I don't
Yeah.
have a product, I don't have a service, I don't have a business, like, no one buys this, no one listens, no one does these things? Well, like, what if I become, like, build something bigger than I ever thought could be possible? We reach that 1% of podcasters that you think you'll never ever fucking reach. Like, what
Yep.
if this does become a full-time job? Like, Why am I
Yes,
not
bitch.
welcoming those thoughts in? It's
Thank
always like,
you.
yeah, never
Yes.
gonna happen, never gonna happen. Like in my dreams, like, well, how'd it happen for the others? Like,
Yeah.
why can't it? But I hate to do this, but someone's going to call me in like 1 minute to 30 seconds because my
Yes.
phone call got
Yes.
moved. So I don't think it's a bad place for us to end. I felt like we were going to
No,
touch
I don't
on a lot
either.
more, but I'm glad we did still stay in like one topic range,
Look at
I guess.
us.
Like, and you know what? It's great for the first couple days of the month. It'll be October 2nd. You guys will if you listen to it on time, you will also get the news to not manifest on the 2nd and the 3rd. I'll share the clip that Amber
Yep.
shared with me so everyone can watch it. And like, let's fucking rock October, baby.
Yes, yeesh. Let's fuck it up.
All right, everybody out
I
there, thanks
love
for
it.
hanging with us. Get some positive affirmations, be woo-woo with us. Besides, it's fucking witchy season. So,
Yes, bitch.
yeah,
Yes.
let's be some witches this October.
Yeah, girl. Here for it.
All right. Okay, everyone. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much. Have a wonderfully positive day, week, month, and everything ahead of you in your life.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
We hope you enjoyed this episode and would do us a huge favor, since we don't have any sponsors or anything like that, and would rate and review us on whatever platform it is you use, Spotify, Apple, Stitcher, whatever it is. And if you're listening and downloading just through the website, tarinituppodcast.com, leave comments. We'll definitely engage back with you. And on social media right now, we're just on Instagram. Tarin It Up Podcast is the handle. Like the post, share the post, comment on the post, whatever it is you got. Show us your love so we just stay relevant and show up in the rankings at all. So again, rate and review, please. And we'll see you next time. Thanks.